just to see who's behind this, this whole great project we got going on over here.
This talk show will talk to you about many different opinions, mindsets, personal stories, and the reality of many controversial stories today.
Our main suggestion is that you, the audience, have an open mind.
Throughout the show, an open mind will allow you to think about the different stances of a topic.
Now, hopefully you guys came here with, not a very specific stance, and not to just kind of yell at us. I know many people don't really like us, but we're trying to do as best as we can over here.
This talk show will introduce you to many new views, so keep it in mind, guys.
Now, before we start, we want to get you guys pumped. So we're going to be asking a few questions, and we want you guys to kind of raise your hands and answer them as if we were in a classroom.
Okay, well, the first question.
Okay, so the first question. What's a culture that you guys admire that's other than your own? Any raise of hands here? I can pick on people as well.
Come on, people. Don't be shy. We're all students here.
Any raise of hands?
All right.
Okay.
How about you in the Gap sweatshirt?
Culture you admire other than your own.
Okay, you do. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, can we have maybe another person? All right, your jacket right there. Vietnamese? Okay, Vietnamese culture. Woo. How many Vietnamese people do we have in the room? So, not very good. Okay. All right, next question. What is something you guys love about yourself? And when I ask you this question, just yell out your name and just say, I love blah, 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 blah about myself. So can we have a raise of hands? Okay, come on, people. I'm sure yeah, the girl in the back basically with the white jacket.
My name is Annie, and I love my hair.
Yeah, my hair's cool too, I guess. No. All right, can we have maybe another person?
Right here.
All right.
I love myself because the beer told me to love
All right, so your name's Anna, and what do you love about yourself?
myself because the beer told me to love
Woo, go Justin.
Yeah. No.
How many Justin Bieber fans do we have out here? How many Justin Bieber fans have we had that have been Justin Bieber fans for a long time? There we go. All right, and maybe one more person. What do you guys love about yourself? Can we have a raise of hands? On the white back there. Right there. You just went, oh man, you got to take me.
Hand on head, I see you.
What do you love about yourself?
Oh, my name's Kaufman. I love my hair.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, what's another question?
Okay, guys, let's move on to a more serious note, I would say. How many of you have ever heard someone say the word retard? Yeah? Yeah, I think I have. And especially used as an insult or a joke. But I can say that I will never, ever use that word. And here's why. 1 in 5 people suffer from mental illnesses all around the world. You may not say it on purpose, and it may just be a joke for you. But a lot of people go through a lot of pain and suffering just because of what they're born with or what mental challenges they have. But most of you may have never seen someone who goes through it or have experienced something like this. But I have been closely associated with someone who suffers daily for the past 15 years of my life. My sister is my inspiration and my experience. She's autistic and deals with the worst kind of seizures there are. Basically, when she gets these horrific seizures, she drops wherever she is and ends up getting hurt really bad. I mean, really bad. There have been many nights where I've been in the emergency room with my older sister. And when she breaks her bones, gets stitches, gets countless amounts of bruises, she doesn't know how to express that pain. She doesn't know that she has to cry. She doesn't know that she has to say ow. So when she gets hurt, I feel her pain, as her sister who shares the same blood as her. So when someone uses the word retard as an insult, I feel the pain that my hero, my sister, can't feel. That many mentally challenged people around the world can't feel. So as a human who feels their pain, I vow to be their voice. I vow to stand up for them for as long as I live. Because they need a voice. They need someone to fight for them. So please, before you use the word retard as a joke, just to get a laugh, just to mess with your friend, think about the pain and suffering that people experience. People just like you and me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha, for that very, very touching speech you just gave. And now it's time to bring out what many of you may be here for, the founders of the social project. Now everyone, please drum roll.
Drum roll.
From the right side or the left side of the ring are Maria, Ramanathan, and Dominique Singh.
Hey everyone! So yeah, we're the founders of the DNA Social Project, and some background behind us. I'm currently a sophomore here at EVHS. I've been president of the Girl Up Club for 3 years now, and Dominique Singh, this person I call my best friend, is also a sophomore here at EVHS, and she's been an amazing Girl Up secretary for 2 years now. So before she begins why we started this project and what exactly we're doing with this project, a commonly asked question was if this project was part of the club. And starting today, this project will be part of Girl Up Club. So if you guys want to get involved or help us with our project, just talk to one of us or drop by at a meeting.
Hey, so we started the social project over the summer. It was basically a document which me and Amrita would send each other inspirational messages on, just to light up each other's day. Soon we realized how demanding a school environment could be, and we wanted to be productive and post these messages around the school. If one person's day was lit up, that was a mission accomplished. So we started to post around in the girls' bathrooms in A and B building. Every day we would check to see what would happen to these postings. Most of them were ripped down, and a lot of them had comments written on them. And of course, not all of them were well received. However, we were gaining attention, and we decided that with this attention, we could turn our project towards controversial issues in society today.
Honestly, I would not be calling most of these topics controversial. For example, feminism wasn't well received within the school community. Although we're all for it, feminism is basically the belief that women and men are equal to each other. So in our minds, it's not that controversial. It seems like a very basic concept, but of course some people don't agree with it. So we're classifying it as controversial in the show.
Out of 200 posts, only a mere 15 were directly related to the concept of feminism. These posts were not well received at all. People hated it. The absurd idea of bringing very valid concepts for people to think about in an institution of learning. However, someone has to do that. Someone has to introduce these topics to you, and someone has to help you form opinions on these topics, whether you agree, disagree, or stay neutral. That's totally okay. And that is how DA came to be. A controversial and an inspirational project. Most of our posts are related to the concept of equality, which is what this talk show is centered around.
All right, next slide, please. All right, so what is the concept of equality? According to the Oxford Dictionary, equality is defined as the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. Here at Evergreen Valley High School, we have a great community. From our spirited ASB officers to the various events our school hosts, To each dedicated club at our campus, our school exudes spirit, happiness, and positivity, despite the fact that our academic climate can be quite challenging and stressful. You might say that we live in quite excellent habitat here at EVHS. In our little world, we all think we're equal. Our school, though, often functions as kind of a bubble, a barrier shielding us from most of the world. It's not the students' fault, and it's not the parents' fault, and it's certainly not the administration's fault. At school, we learn calculus, chemistry, physics, any subject you can think of. But how often do we discuss the problems that the rest of the world faces, such as abortion, rape culture, cultural appropriation, police brutality, and all the other topics we will cover in today's showcase, are ones that most students aren't even aware of. Let me ask you a question. If you had heard the word intersectionality before our project, please raise your hand. All right, so that's not exactly the entire audience. We want everyone to become aware of this concept and many others because not only are they major problems in our society today, but as we as a generation get older, it will be up to us to solve them.
The second we learn to accept each other's opinions and decisions, and the second we learn to respect each other's basic human rights, is when we will be on the road to equality. This past decade, we have had so many miraculous breakthroughs in the course of our rights, such as, of course, same-sex marriage rights. But even with these breakthroughs, we have so much inequality which we are oblivious to and which we need to focus on more. As Kerry Washington once said, women, poor people, people of color, people of disabilities, gay men, lesbians, bisexuals, trans people, intersex people. We have been pitted against each other and made to feel like there are limited seats at a table for those of us who fall into the category of other. You see, we have come in a point of time where there should be no other, because we are all people. Even if we have small mental or physical differences, we are all human. We are all equal. Now, equality is a very, very broad topic, and it can be broken down into multiple categories such as feminism, rape culture, police brutality, and so much more. And our own EVHS students, administration, teachers, and even activists will be covering these topics. So now you will enter the magical world of controversy in our society today.
Well, wasn't that great, everyone? Can we get a round of applause for them? Now, we will move on to our first and our very special speaker. Welcome, EVHS's favorite band director, Mr. Barnhill.
Mr. Barnhill will be speaking about two things we all love and hate: success and failure.
I'm not sure exactly how controversial that is. So, success and failure. I was asked to speak about this. I think that I guess I've bridged this topic in my classrooms quite a bit in terms of what we're doing with ourselves. Success and failure. Let's just take failure first. Let's just go with failure. Failure is, there's two things. There's lack of effort and integrity, which is directly results in failure. And then there's attempts at success that don't meet what you wanted to. If we're trying to cure cancer and we instead just simply cure the common cold, do we fail? Yes or no? Yes or no? We say yes, we failed. And we say we succeeded. We did not cure cancer. Isn't a common cold a problem we exist with on a regular basis? So maybe we did not get all the way we wanted to, but the effort we achieved, that we worked on, got us to a point that was able to find success in some measure. We were able to accomplish something. So failure is, in my opinion, failure is a lack of effort. If I go to take an Italian class, and I sit in the class and I'm on my phone the entire time, half asleep the rest of the time, and talking to my friend, I failed. If in the attempt to learn Italian, there are, let's say, vocabulary of 50 words I need to use on a regular basis. And I'm struggling with my deficiencies, and I maybe get 35, maybe 30, 35 words in, but I use them on a regular basis. I did achieve a measure of success in that class. I did not fail. Because of the effort I put in on a regular basis to achieve that language, it got me to a point where I am succeeding at a certain level. Man, that light is really annoying. There you go, sorry. That's annoying. Seriously, there's a light show in my face here. That's a failure. So when you look at what you're trying to do in your classrooms, when you're in your classes, the classes you're taking, I know as a teacher, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen students achieve at different levels and fail at different levels. I taught piano at my previous school for a number of years, and I had students who had never had any music at all, not taking a single music class. Came into my piano class, and by the end of the first semester, we're able to play independently, two hands, a melody with accompaniment through an entire song. I always consider that to be a tremendous success. That student went from zero music knowledge to reading and playing for me, or for other students, a song. I've had students who came in with greatly skilled pianists who moved no farther along in their studies as pianists. I consider that to be a failure. That student, now, if you were to have the two students play for you, back to back, you say the kid that came in that played the song, played some Chopin etude beautifully, was much more successful than a student who played a simple song, and you would be incorrect. Because that student who already had skills moved no farther along in their abilities. That's a failure. But the student who went from no experience, no knowledge, to that one, a considerable leap forward in ability, that was a true success. Failure is, what do you have, what skills do you have? What skills do you possess, and what do you do with them? If the answer is very little to nothing, it's a failure on your part. But if you take the skills you have, which may be limited at this time, and you move yourself through a series of accomplishments forward, farther and farther down the road, further or farther, I always put that up, further and farther, down the road, you have attained a measure of success. For me as a teacher, this is year 32 for me. If my students, if I hand out new music to them, and I don't present to them with new concepts, I'm failing to move my students farther down the road. If my wind ensemble, which is my top group, does not play at a higher level than they start a year out, I failed. Now their basic level may be better than a younger band, but they did not move anywhere farther down the road. Therefore, their success is limited. Look at your own life. Your parents want you to have straight A's. I get that. Almost every year, I imagine if you ask, there's a poll of how many here your parents expect you to have straight A's? How many of your parents expect you to have straight A's in classes? Straight A's. Straight A's. Everything's supposed to be an A, right? How many get the B's? Your parents, if you got some B's, they'll accept that. Raise your hand. Maybe those are bold people. There you go. A C. Less and less people. Now, if you're taking a class where the ability level, let's say we're in Italian, and at the end of the year, you need to be able to sing, not only speak Italian, but sing in Italian, an aria, to get an A. And you speak no Italian, and you don't know how to sing. In that process of moving to that aria, to sing that Italian, if you did not accomplish that goal, that particular goal, did you fail? Yes or no? If you are a musician and has been taking Italian and understand how basic conversational knowledge of Spanish or Italian, and you do the same thing, did you fail? Yeah. Yes. So there's a fine line between success and failure. I want you to think about what efforts are you giving, how are you accomplishing those efforts, and what are you doing to then up the ante every day in your own efforts? I ask my students, I always ask for excellence in all things. And they approach it. Is that a realistic goal? Can you be truly excellent in all things? No, you can't. But you can get really darn close to it. I know that there's a lot of pressures on you as students, and where are you going to go to college, and I went to the middle school, it's Shibuya. Part of the presentation to talk to the parents about that, and they want their children, some of you probably, why aren't you taking 4 AP classes as a freshman? You gotta start slow, right? Go somewhere. I know there's a lot of pressure on you. Sometimes it's easier to step back and take smaller steps. What are you doing to be better in that class every day? And how are you pushing yourself forward into that success in that classroom? Ask yourself, I put the post up, they give you one, are you better, are you closer to the person you want to be today than you were yesterday? Something like that. I like that. I have goals I say for myself. Things I have to meet. Or for me, feel like I had a successful day. When you go through, take stock in your day. What did you do today that was better than the day before? And the things that were not better, fix them tomorrow. The things that were better, maintain them and move them forward again. And at all times too, just breathe. Just breathe. We hold our breath so much in society. We're so panicked. We hurry around. We don't think. We don't breathe. We don't relax. Breathe. Just breathe. Before you take that test, before you pick up the pencil, just breathe. Just gather your thoughts. Pick up your pencil and let it go. And remember, you don't have to be afraid if you prepare. 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 All right. I'm not sure exactly. I was supposed to give you some grand story of success. We can all deal with the failures. If Edison failed at how many tests where he actually invented the light bulb? Did he fail, or did he finally get the right? Right. So you can look at it two ways. Effort is without fail. Effort is without fail. Look at how much effort you put into. If you didn't study for the test, you didn't prepare, didn't pay attention in class, you've already failed before you take the test. But if you took the time and you worked yourself through and you studied and you prepared and you worked and you didn't get the grade you really wanted, did you truly fail? And the answer is no. So, I would encourage you to look for the things that you do to your very, very best. And hold on to those and continue to make those better. And look for the things that you want to improve upon. Make a list. And attack those bit by bit. You find the things you want to find. I applaud these young ladies for taking on this task. And conversation is a great thing. And I hope that as we go through and the conversations, the topics actually become controversial. This is not controversial. That as they said, you have an open mind. Open mind allows knowledge to flow, and knowledge is power. Always remember that. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the stronger you are. Take in the information that comes to you. You want to make today a success? Listen to the information that's brought to you with an open mind. Process that information. And then make decisions for yourself. And actually have an earnest conversation outside of this place with somebody. And I think then they'll find that their event actually was successful. If it spurs on conversation. I don't think anyone's asking you to take a wild leap and take a whole new thing, but at least be open-minded. That would be my advice to you in this process. As you go forward your own stuff, especially those who are ready to go into college, you're going to be exposed to so much stuff, and that's where it all starts to flow even more quickly to college. All right. So I'm not sure that if I enlightened you on something, great. If not, if I failed in that, then I apologize to you. It wasn't through lack of desire. And so I encourage you to listen, as I said, open mind, listen to what the people have to say, and allow people to actually state their point of view. And you may learn something today. I hope you do. I think that's it. If you have a question for me, I can add. There's something like clarification I can do. I know we're in the dark here. Yeah, I know we're asking for volunteers to speak up their hands. Anything I can actually have a point that maybe when my students can maybe ask me to address, I would address it. Nothing? Ayush, you got anything you want me to say? No? Okay. All right. I will pass on mic on to the next person. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Barnhill, for that amazing and motivating speech about success and failure.
Next, we have our own EVHS admin and a very inspirational man. Mr. Kleckner. Mr. Kleckner will be speaking about gay rights and positivity.
All right, good evening, everyone. I want to thank the DNA Club, first off, for putting on this event and for really starting this campaign on campus. Let me tell you, as an administrator, you're a bit concerned when you start seeing these flyers being posted up in bathrooms with these messages that are a bit edgy, saying, what is going on? Who is doing this? What type of tape are they using? What club is this? What's going on? I was really impressed, though, by the speakers, by the folks who organized this, and their ability really to focus in on not necessarily being controversial to be controversial, not being edgy to be edgy, but really trying to get down to the substance to it. Trying to really promote dialogue, to promote discourse, and really doing it in a way to try to make the world a better place. There are some folks that were very hesitant about having something like this happen. You know, ultimately those students have free speech rights as long as those rights don't sort of disrupt the school environment. And to me, the DNA Social Project, rather than disrupting the school environment, is actually enhancing it, is making the school a better place and is making the world a better place. And so that's meaningful. And I think that everyone who has participated, the speakers, the two young ladies who organized the event, they really deserve credit for doing that because it was student created. It didn't come from staff, it didn't come from administration. It came from students wanting to make the world a better place. So, I obviously have the topic of gay rights with one of the coolest rainbows I've seen ever. I'm going to start off with a story and then I'm going to get into some data. And the story is about me. So when I was growing up, like a lot of LGBT folks, I knew I was different from a young age. All right? I knew that something was different compared to the 95% of other students that I was going to school with. And eventually, you know, that gave way to sort of understanding what was going on with me. You know, at first there's the denial phase. Oh, I can't do this. You know, there's a phase where you try to do other stuff to get around it. But ultimately you come to accept it. And at that time, you know, before I even got to junior high, I thought that, God, what's wrong with me? What is it? I'm different. I'm never going to be like everyone else. This is horrible. The world is always going to get horrible. But you know what? It got better. All right, when I was 15 years old, I came out. Really early. I grew up in Southern California, in the suburbs, very sort of conservative area. And, you know, it was hard at first. And sort of that fear of being found out transitioned into sort of an anxiety of living as someone who was out. And that was something that took a lot of time getting over. You know, 15 years ago, I'm almost 30 now. The thought that I would be on the stage just having a conversation with a couple hundred people about it would have been terrifying. But it got better, and you sort of got past that. My parents, you know, a couple of them, you know, I have 4 parents. My parents were divorced, so I have step-parents too. You know, 3 out of the 4 were kind of like, okay, you know, we still love them. And I had one, my stepfather was not supportive. And was not supportive to the point that you may, you know, if it came to me with the students, came to me with the same issues I was going through, you know, maybe considered abusive. When I was 16 though, you know, this is in high school, I'm a junior in high school now, I decided to form a gay-straight alliance at my high school. And the idea was, how do we make this different, or how do we make this different in a good way? How do we make this better for other people? How do I find folks like me so I don't feel like such an outcast? And it was hard. Right? It was hard. This was back in 2002, 2003, and when I show you data, you'll sort of see the level of support that we're talking about. After I formed the Gay Straight Alliance, I was kind of like the DNA folks. I was not one to be subtle. I was always sort of aggressive about making the world a better place. And I was always about sort of getting out and advocating and not backing down, even if people had a problem with that. I had death threats left on notes on my car at school. You know, I brought it to the school, I brought it to the admins. Nothing really happened, and I'm not saying that on them, you know, there wasn't really evidence, but that was there. I had comments sort of made to me, and you can imagine the type of language that was used that really made me feel like I wasn't supported. And sure, I had friends. You know, I had teachers who supported me as well. But there was a lot of times there when I thought, this is horrible. This is how it's always going to be. But you know what? Ultimately, it got better. got kind of worse before it got better, but it got better. When I was 17, it was all about colleges. Now, I may have mentioned this when we did the norming presentations at the beginning of the year. I had a really rough freshman year. Coming out is hard, all right? Our LGBT folks know in the room, coming out is hard. That's why LGBT folks have higher levels of mental illness, more likely to be homeless, more likely to consider or try suicide. It's hard, right? And a lot of society's reactions to that is hard as well. And so I tanked my freshman year. I got D's. I had to do summer school. For real, Mr. Kleckner had to do summer school to retake algebra because I totally failed at freshman year. But I got my act together. Got straight A's sophomore, junior year. Got a 1370 on the SAT, which I promised used to be good before it got up to 2400. All right, that was pretty decent. So I was applying to colleges. I was applying to scholarships. And I was applying to all sorts of places, but I was a first-generation college kid. None of my parents went to college. I had no clue what I was doing. And so I was applying everywhere. I was applying to gay rights organizations as well. Lambda Legal, PFLAG, the Human Rights Campaign, all of those. And one day I got a reply in the mail. A letter got sent, just sort of those form letters that you get in response to these scholarships. And my stepdad found it. And it did not go well. All right? There was hitting, there was name calling, not from me to him, but the other way around. And eventually it culminated in me getting kicked out. So I was kicked out of my house when I was 17. It was January of my senior year of high school. I don't believe that college acceptances had been sent out yet, and so I essentially was kicked out of my house, and I didn't know what I was going to do after high school. You know, a friend, you know, I was lucky enough to have support, took me in, and her family, you know, to this day I'm thankful, took me in, and I lived with them for the next 6 months after I had been kicked out. And at that point, being kicked out of your own house by your own parents for something that wasn't a choice. All right? Being LGBT is something that is innate. There are mountains of research from scientists showing that it's not something that you choose one day and then choose the other day. It's innate. You can't change it. And yet I was kicked out, and I thought, this is the absolute worst it can be. How could this ever change? But it got better. All right? About a month after I was kicked out, I was accepted into UCLA. That was my ticket. All right? That's when, you know, you sort of saw some hope on the horizon that maybe this actually could get better. And when I went to college, it was an absolute game changer. All right? The nonsense that happened in high school, the difficulties that I had with my family accepting me, now I was in college. And really in college, and once you get past high school, once you get out of your parents' house, things change, all right? Things get better. And really the message that I want to convey to you, you know, with my own story, and I'm all about science, I'm all about research. And so I think stories are important, and I hope that my story at least shows you, at least for me, that you can go through all this stuff of getting death threats, of being called names, of getting kicked out, and you can still do something and still be a success. All right, but there's also data that goes along with it as well that shows you will have a better life than the folks that came before you. Better than I had, better than the folks 20, 30, 40 years before I was even born. So let's go to our next slide. All right, this right here is a survey. Oh, sure. This right here is a survey. I believe it's from Gallup, and it goes back all the way to 1996. So to give you some context, I was born in 1986. And so the green line is support for same-sex marriage, and the yellow line is opposition to same-sex marriage. And when you hear on the news sort of the sea change that has happened in gay rights, this is what they're talking about. And to me, this is stark. So it goes beyond Modern Family having a gay couple on TV. It goes beyond having the first gay NFL player. All right, it actually goes to people's hearts and minds. And so when I was coming out, it was right about here. All right? And that's when I was thinking it couldn't possibly get better. Right? We're talking 2/3, a 2-to-1 opposition to same-sex marriage, saying two people who love each other should be able to get married like anyone else. Well, look at these numbers. All right, starting around really 05, 06, they start going up. Steadily, steadily, steadily. They go up, 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 until today it is almost opposite of what it was 20 years ago. It gets better. All right, if you are LGBT, or if you're not LGBT and you still think life can't get better, look at these numbers. It absolutely does and is getting better. Let's go to our next slide. All right, what is this? This is like a really funky graph. This was how old you were if you are LGBT when you told your first person that you were LGBT. And if you look for gay men, it's 18. The median age for all is 20. For bisexual folks, it's 20. Lesbians, it's 21. And most of the time, it's not parents at first. Usually, with LGBT folks, it's parents that make us the most nervous, right? It's not wanting to disappoint them. It's being worried about what they would say. And so confiding in your friends, coming out to them first is good. It's something that you can do. But more important than that, coming out is how you change the world, right? There is a reason why these numbers went up. People just didn't wake up one day and decide, we're going to be tolerant, we're going to be accepting, we're going to make the world a better place. It did it because people were brave, and they came out. All right, you guys may have heard of Harvey Milk. All right, one of Harvey Milk's quotes before he was assassinated was, should a bullet enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door in the country. And this was back in the 1970s, when something like this, with same-sex marriage being legal, wouldn't even have seemed feasible. All right, but that's how it was done. Let's go to the next one. Look at this survey data. This is from 2013, so a couple years old. What would your reaction be if you were a parent and it turned out your child was gay or lesbian? Let's look at the dates here. This one, December 1985, about 6 months before I was born. June of 2000, I was just going into high school. March of 2004, a couple months before graduation. May of 2013, a couple years ago. Back in the 80s, right, 2/3 of parents say they'd be very upset if their student was LGBT. 25% somewhat, not even 10% would be fine with it, not upset. But look at the numbers though. What direction did they go in? They all get better, right? 36%, 37%, 23% upset versus not upset in 2000. 33, 27, 36. 4 years later, look at this jump. 13% in 4 years. And then up to a couple years ago, 19% would be very upset, 21% somewhat upset, and over 50% would not be upset at all. It gets better, and it is getting better, and it will continue to get better. Let's go to our last one. This is the kicker, and this is why. Right? This is why we have seen more acceptance towards LGBT people. It did not happen by accident. It happened because there were gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgender folks out there who were brave and who told their friends, who told their family, even when it was hard, even when they thought that it couldn't ever get better, they did it because that's who they were and they wanted to be open and honest. And so if you look at 1993, this is surveying people asking, do you have a close friend or relative who is LGBT? 77% said no. Is that number accurate? Of course not. There have been LGBT people around since the beginning of time. There were LGBT cavemen and women, all right? Of course they knew someone. They just didn't know that they were. And then, of course, fast forward to 2013, you see 65% do, and then 35% are still saying that they don't. That is the reflection of these numbers. That is why you're seeing more acceptance of gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. All right, because folks are coming out. Now, just to be clear, it's not a race. All right, so I'm not telling you that you should come out as fast as possible. No. All right, there may be times if you're LGBT where it's not a good idea. You know your parents are not supportive of it. Don't come out until you can support yourself and be in college. All right, maybe start with your friends first. All right, but it also shows that allies matter. All right, so for all our folks who are not LGBT, you guys matter the most. All right, you are the folks that protect your friends, who stand up for them, who tell them that them being harassed or bullied or threatened or someone being mean to them, that is not acceptable to you because there is nothing wrong with being LGBT. All right, and ultimately it means that despite everything that's happened, despite everything that happens in life, what people say, it gets better and the trend line is going positive. Always remember that, because it'll be hard sometimes, and it is hard as an LGBT person, but it gets better. And it'll get better once you graduate, it'll get better once you go to college, it'll get better once you get into adulthood. And really, that's all for me. So thank you guys, I think this movement is fantastic.